Hey, why am I awake? Why do I
I don't
exist?
know.
Are you guys gonna actually be awake to do enough to do this? We
Yeah,
can
I
just try to do it later.
I don't think an hour or two later will make that much difference in how awake we are, and I think we'll wake up while doing it.
That's what she said.
I I just have to get all the
That's
groans and moans out, and then I'll be good for it.
All right, so are we ready?
yes.
Cool. Welcome to What Am Dreams. I am one of your hosts, Tasha. It is the ass crack of dawn. Good morning, and I'm here with
Dustin.
And
and
Emily,
a special guest.
Emily,
Yay! Welcome, Em, to the show.
yay! I would say I'm happy to be here, except it's like 5 a.m. barely. Yay.
Except it's super fucking early. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, what else is new?
So, how are you guys?
Take
Honestly-
a guess, Tasha. Take a guess how I'm feeling.
Honestly, I'm tired this morning too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What's been going on with you, Dustin?
I just finished taking somebody to the airport. I don't understand people, honestly. You
Tell
don't
me
have to
about it.
argue with me when you're wrong, you know? Just admit you're wrong. And we'll move right on.
Did one of your customers argue with you today?
Yeah, a little bit. It's fine.
We'll tell him you're right and he's wrong. I'm
I
smart,
already
you're
did.
dumb. I'm big, you're small.
I didn't say all those things.
You know where that's from?
No.
What? Matilda.
I watched that movie.
What the heck? Em, have you seen it?
No, sadly enough, despite the fact that I would relate very much to it from what I know of it, I have never seen that.
Okay, well, I guess I'm all alone here. Listening, our listeners have seen it.
I'm sure at least one person has seen it somewhere.
Yeah, Tasha. That's him.
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
Danny DeVito classic. A Danny DeVito classic, okay?
I don't think
Yeah.
anyone thinks of Danny DeVito when they think of Matilda.
Seriously?
I actually do know that he's in there. Like, I know that he's a part of that movie.
But I would assume that if anyone says Matilda, he's not the first thing that pops into your head. It's the little girl.
Okay, she might be the first thing, but Danny DeVito is the second.
Nope.
I think of the little wagon of books. Yeah.
I would think the second thing that pops into your head is the scene where she's like making things fly around the room.
Wait,
Okay,
that's
yeah.
actually in the book or movie? Ah,
Yeah, there's something else.
I really need to watch this movie then.
You do. It's a good movie. Highly recommend. You will think of Danny DeVito after you watch that movie.
You know what? Just for spite, never think of Danny DeVito again.
You can't fully choose to not.
I willfully choose to not think of Danny DeVito.
And now you're going to have dreams about him.
Nah.
About dreams, I was talking to Em the other day, not in the podcast, and she mentioned it'd be interesting to talk about children's dreams.
Okay.
Yeah. Do children dream differently than us? How do they approach dreams? And how do they talk about dreams? Because, dreams are nonsense for the most part, but most things children talk about are nonsense. So do they assume that their dreams are just like completely normal? Like, yeah, this is just what goes on in my head when I sleep. Like, do you as a parent have to explain what dreams are? And how do you approach that explanation, Tasha?
Well, as a parent, and I don't claim to be an expert or anything, but I can tell you my experience with my own 3 kids. Before they mention ever telling me about dreams, I've asked them if they've dreamed, and I kind of have to explain it a little bit before they start understanding what I'm saying. So I feel like I might have introduced the concept to them. Like maybe it happened before I asked them about it, but I'm not sure, honestly.
Well, I can tell you that as a child here, I dream crazy things all the time and just I assume that everything is normal, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I had a dream the other day where it was like the setting itself changed 3 different times throughout the dream, and the point behind the dream changed, but it all felt still continuous. I would imagine like anyone, like any normal child, probably goes through the exact same thing. When they wake up, they're probably in that same headspace that we are, where it's like, well, that didn't really make any sense, you know.
Mm.
Yeah, I feel like that's true. Once, because once I started giving them examples of my own dreams I might have had in the night, they're kind of a little confused. And I'm speaking to the early stages of talking about it. I'm not talking about like my daughter right now. She's 14, so we had this talk when she was maybe 3, 4, where I would tell her what I dreamt in the night, and then I would ask her, "So did you dream? What did you dream about?" And then she might have started inventing a story. I don't really remember. It's been years since she's been that age, so I remember Aiden better and Julian because they're a lot younger, and Julian started inventing fantastical dreams just on the spot that I don't think he actually dreamed until he got a little older. And then he started telling me dreams that didn't echo what I was telling him, if that makes sense.
So there comes an age where they make a distinction between their imagination and what they actually dreamed.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember a point. Trying to think back to my own childhood, I don't remember a point at which like I remember dreams. I'm sure there had to be a point where like the concept was introduced, and then you continue dreaming throughout the rest of your life after that. You know.
I don't remember my first dreams, but I do remember like I've mentioned this before in the podcast. My Candyland dream being one of the first memories of a dream. I know I probably dreamed before that, but I don't remember any that stand out anyway.
Yeah, which I wonder, when do we start dreaming? Because your brain is still developing after you're born for like a couple of years. So are we born with the ability to dream? Do we just start doing that right out of the bat? Do we do that in utero? Or is it like reach a certain point of like age 2 or 3 where our brains develop enough that we can both dream and start to remember those dreams?
You gave me a perfect idea for a band name, Womb Dream.
Womb dream.
That's great.
It's got to be a rock band.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be some experimental stuff though.
A little bit
All
of
kinds
death
of just
metal, but not too much.
Yeah, a little bit
yeah,
of death metal. Sprinkle that in there.
with some like techno, behind it, and some light jazz
And some
just
light
for fun.
jazz.
But I I can't imagine that there's a just a point where we start dreaming, necessarily. I would imagine that it's there the entire time. It's just like with anything, like you don't remember like when you were 2, you know, so you wouldn't remember
Mm-hmm.
dreams from that far back.
Right. Though I am
Yeah.
freakishly good at remembering some things from when I was 3, which is interesting. Do y'all have early memories like that?
Yes.
I mean, of like age 4, but not much earlier than that. Tasha, you are definitely the odd duck with your elephant memory, and we love you for it, but it is weird.
Yeah. I wonder if that has to do with a little bit how vividly I dream because I do remember hanging out with my grandma at 3. I remember my house at 3. I have several pointed memories from when I was 3.
Emily, what about you? What's one of your earliest memories?
earliest memory wise, the lady that watched me a lot when I was young, her name was Donna, by the way, and she had this blue curly hair. Absolutely magical woman. This is what I remember from what when I was 4. So if she did or not, who's to say? She disappeared off the face of the earth. Kind of weird. But she had tons of dogs and fish and animals, and she had this big blue fish that I loved. I loved that fish. And one morning I woke up and the fish was gone. I was, like, where's the fish? Like looking around for it in the room because I was a small child. And she had to sit me down and explain to me that it had jumped out of the tank and there wasn't any reason for why it did it, but it's dead. And she was very nice and calm in her explanation of death. So I remember death being explained to me at a very young age, and that's one of my earliest memories.
Wow, that's a traumatic one.
No, actually nice. Everything
No,
after
I
that
mean,
is traumatic.
yeah, yeah. Life is traumatic. So I know this isn't dreams really. Tasha, now I'm interested to know when were when were you first told like about death? Kind of morbid, I know, but
Well, 3, actually, to be honest, because I remember going back to my house. At the time, my grandmother lived with us, and she had passed away in our house. And when we arrived back at home, we found her.
That is
wow,
far more traumatic than a fish.
it
I
is. Yeah,
I don't remember it being traumatic either, Em, which is so interesting. Um, I just remember it being pretty peaceful. I remember thinking my grandma looked like she was asleep.
yeah.
When I talk about it out loud, it sounds dramatic, but it honestly was not. Like, I never considered it that way.
It's probably the reactions of the people around you and how they probably, kind of protected you from the trauma part of it and how scary it was. Like you
Right.
know how parents act around kids that when things are really terrible, they'll act like things are okay because they don't want the kids to be worried or scared.
Right. You're right. It probably had a lot to do with them. I don't
I
remember how
also
they talked to me about it.
I also think that in general, death at that age isn't quite as frightening a concept, because you don't really have a frame of reference for how long a life is.
Right.
At that point, you've only lived 3 years. Your grandmother, however old she was, way longer, right? The first person that I knew to die, I don't remember being really upset about it at all. It was actually a friend of mine. He'd gotten hit by a car, and I I just went to school the next day. Like they were like, "Oh, you can stay home," or whatever. And then we got to go to the funeral, and I was like, "Yeah, I kind of don't want to. I just want to go to school," and I did. So
Hard.
it was like pre-K. So,
Right. So pretty young
but
then
Mhm.
as well.
yeah, yeah, I think I was like 5, I guess. So yeah, I think that maybe it's that. Maybe it's part of that is, yeah, your family being very supportive and protective, but also that your frame of reference for how long you live isn't as developed.
Right.
Mhm. And maybe just being too young to process those emotions because, grief from death is such a strong emotion that I
Hmm.
don't, a small child trying to deal with that, because kids will have complete breakdowns over the juice being the wrong color. So, really understanding the concept of death would make their brains melt out their nose.
Yeah.
Aptly put. Aptly put.
To
All right.
segue
Well.
into dreams, I die in my dreams, which is always a big thing in medias of like a big deal. Oh, you die in your dreams, you die in real life. And it's
Right.
not. It's actually it's like going to sleep. Death is not that bad, just to say. At least in your dreams, it's not that bad. But they've
Yeah.
all been violent deaths.
Oh boy.
Like I've had a death where I was torn apart by zombies in a sewer. That was not fun. That I felt that as they tore into my gut. Not fun. Do not recommend. Another one, I fell like really deep into the ocean and
Mm.
there were mer people. All right, but instead of the tails, they just had like webbed hands. So less cool mer people, but mostly mer people. They didn't like me being there, and so they just kind of stabbed me with spears. That was not fun because I felt that. And I had phantom pain the next day, and it's hard to explain it. Like, it felt like the pressure was still there in my sides from where they stabbed me. And that weirded me out
Interesting.
all the next day.
Oh yeah.
Like, I
It
checked
freaked
for
me out.
bruises and stuff.
Let me
It
tell
would
you,
definitely freak me
when you said ocean, I was like, nope, I'm out.
out.
Yeah. Yeah,
I thought it
mer
was going to
people
be a
might kill
drowning.
you, Dustin.
Me too.
No. No, I would have preferred the drowning because it was not fun being stabbed through the abdomen with a giant spear. And then another one, I was shot in the back, and it was in the desert. Like, I was running away from this bar, and the person came out and just shot me in the back. And I remember laying face down on the gravel. And more than the bullet wound was the gravel on my skin and how hot it was. But it's like the wound stung and just felt wet. It was not fun. Dying is not fun, but also it's just kind of like going to sleep in your dreams. And the dreams would just end. It's not that I'd wake up in a cold sweat right after I die. It's that I would just go back to sleep, no more dreaming.
That's what I was going to ask you. Was that was going to be my follow-up question, like did you wake up as soon as you died, or did you keep sleeping or dreaming?
Just kept sleeping. But that was the end of the dream. So it's really weird. Do you guys ever die in your dreams?
No, I've never even gotten close. Like the closest I've gotten is that falling dream, where you're about to hit the ground and then you wake up. Closest I've ever gotten.
I have died in my dreams, yes. For some reason, I can't think of a specific dream where I did. I just remember dying in a dream. I do remember getting into a car crash in a recent dream and almost dying and waking up because Ernesto woke me up because he said I wasn't breathing. So that was
Oh,
freaky. I feel like he kind of saved my life, maybe.
Yeah, I remember you guys telling that story at game night.
Yeah. I was in the car, and I think Nesta was in the car with me in passenger, and I was driving, and I
Well, that
remember
was your first
getting into
mistake.
the wreck. Shut up, Dustin. Anyways, I remember getting into the wreck, like the collision. I remember feeling the impact. I remember not being able to breathe immediately after. And I remember thinking in my dream, oh my God, I'm dying. And then Ernesto woke me up.
So I have a question. Again, it's not related to dreams, but it is related to breathing. Do you guys ever hold your breath whenever you're watching like someone underwater on a show?
I always remember to like try and do that when they're already partway through. Because I know, like, I've heard of it, of like seeing if you can hold your breath as long as they're underwater to see if it's realistic.
Hmm.
And so I'll only think to do it like halfway through the scene.
Well, sometimes I accidentally do it, where I'm like, oh god, this is tense, but then like I realize, oh, I'm not breathing either. Like I should probably do that.
I don't do that, and sometimes I think about it after the scene, like after the movie.
Yeah. So,
Oh,
any other dreams where you've died, Emily?
I think those are it, but I'm not always the best at remembering my dreams. And I do this really weird thing where right after I wake up, I don't remember I dreamed, but I know that I did. And it will be hours after waking up that it will pop into my head. And I don't know if you guys ever saw the show That's So Raven.
Hmm.
Am I too young for y'all?
No,
Years ago, I've seen it. Years ago.
But when she
yeah,
gets those
I
little
watched it.
visions, it's like that moment, and I'll stand there and just relive an entire dream and be like, oh, that happened. Ah, it'll be hours after I wake up. I will suddenly remember a dream.
That is strange. Delayed memory of dreaming.
It makes dream journals kind of a moot point. I can't keep them.
I've done
The
that
only
from time
dream
to time, where you wake up with a vague feeling of how the dream made you feel, but you can't quite piece together what happened. But then later throughout the day, it starts to like come to you, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember there was this and this and this.
I've had it happen before, but it's not the normal for me. I usually remember right away and start forgetting throughout the day.
Yeah,
Oh, Dustin, to piggyback off of something you said earlier and also in that earlier podcast, because I did listen to all the episodes. I had to stay up to finish the third one. But
Thank you for listening.
that that falling dream that you get, that everybody gets, where you feel like you fall in your dream and then you immediately jerk awake. What that
yeah.
is your heartbeat is slowing down too fast and you're
Well,
falling
your whole
asleep
body
too
is
fast.
relaxing too fast. Yeah, your
Yeah,
whole
so
body is
you're
relaxing too fast, and your mind doesn't know what's going on, so it assumes that you're falling.
yeah. Well, it kind of just hits the panic button because it's like, oh God, are we dying? Quick, get them up. This will wake them up. Do this. It's
Yeah,
just a big panic button.
That's
yeah.
interesting. I have had dreams where I was falling and I felt like I was going to die when I landed, but I would wake up on impact or I would wake up just before landing.
My falling dreams are always like stairs. Like there will be a single step or two steps that I fall on.
And then just keep going.
I just like, when you take a step and you miss it, like you miscalculate how deep the step is, and so you fall for a moment. That's always mine. They're never very dramatic. They're always very boring.
That's funny. Mine have been pretty dramatic where I would jump off a cliff or I would jump into a deep dark hole. A lot of times it's jumping into a water hole. I mentioned this in an earlier podcast where I jump in
Yeah,
like deep into a like cave like watering water hole. No, watering hole? No, water hole.
yeah. I mean, I've had the same, falling off of a cliff, but I've also had like running through the woods and tripping. Like it doesn't feel like I'm being chased, but there's for some reason, and then right before you hit the ground, that's when you wake up. But those are also the only times that I'll ever like jerk myself awake, or the falling one. You know how like you see in movies, someone's about to get killed in their dream, or, like stabbed or maimed in some way, and they gasp awake. That never
Yes.
Mhm.
happens to me. Anytime I have a dream that seems like a nightmare, I just kind of wake up slowly still.
Really?
Yeah.
You never do the whole like jerk awake, gasping for breath, shaking, crying, need to turn the lights on.
No, absolutely not. I have woken up crying. That was something completely different though. That was, dreaming that someone was dead or, you know.
A bad dream, but not really a nightmare. Because nightmares I
Yeah.
consider to be the ones that leave you, panicked and crying and really upset. But bad
Yeah.
dreams are just like, that was a bad thing that happened in my dream. Oh no.
Right.
Yeah.
I have woken up definitely bawling. I've also woken up screaming in my dream, but when I woke up I was just barely moaning, I guess. I don't know if I was screaming just before I woke up, but I definitely woke up screaming. Like a recent dream I had where that happened. It was so strange, but it was flooding. I was not in a vehicle, but I knew Ernesto was. And he was in a vehicle trying to cross a flooding road, I guess is what it was. And it got immediately overwhelming for all cars to pass through. And his car didn't make it. And I literally, like, once I found out that he had drowned, I was screaming in my dream because I could not take it. I feel like I might actually do that in real life if that ever happened. But so, it was kind of a traumatizing dream, to be honest. I woke up screaming, or I woke up moaning loudly, and not in the exciting kind of way. It was
Yeah,
definitely a
I
dramatic
was like,
way.
can we use a different word other than moaning?
I can't think of another word to describe what was coming out of the sound hole.
I think that word fits. Like,
Groaning?
there's two different contexts for that.
Okay, fine.
I think a
Groaning.
groan is
Yeah,
a
that's
different
fine.
thing.
Sheesh.
Oh, that's so adorable that you're so sad at the mere thought of your husband's death.
I guess he's an okay guy.
Yeah, he's alright.
Mm.
I've done
I tolerate
similar.
him.
I've had similar dreams too with the same thing happening to my children and waking up similarly. So yeah, those are
Do you have
traumatic.
to go check on them?
Yes. Yes, I
Boy, it's
do.
a good
You're
thing I
such
don't
a
have kids.
you're such a mom, Tasha. Such a classic mom of 3 kids and a loving wife.
It's kind of sickening, actually.
I was gonna say I don't feel healthy about it. Feels like paranoia.
I think all parents are supposed to be paranoid and have like a slightly unhealthy obsession with their children.
Okay, you might be right.
Maybe. Actually, I'm always right. And you should write that down.
Write it down.
I
Writing it down now.
Well, let's walk that back a little bit. We'll play it by ear. We'll see what happens.
No, she's always right. I'm telling you.
Mm.
Is there you guys have talked a lot about like the dreams you had as kids and the ones you had as adults. Do you notice any marked differences between your dreams as a child versus your dreams as an adult?
That is a good question.
Because to reveal just how weird I am, as a child, I never dreamed of other people in my dreams. They were either completely empty landscapes or just kind of shadow silhouette figures, but never any actual people in my dreams as a child. And it wasn't until I was like a late teenager, like late in high school, that I started dreaming of people. But when I did start dreaming of people, they were always like dwarves or elves or zombies or something not quite human.
All right. Well, when you said shadowy people, I were silhouettes. I don't like that.
First of all, I don't like that.
I mean, those were always in the blank space, so they kind of made sense. One of my reoccurring places to go in a dream is just a blank black void, and that's just a
Nope,
place
don't
I
like
end
that
up.
either. Mm-mm.
No, it's fine. It's just empty. I'm just in the void.
It's
There
normal.
is something wrong with you.
That's
Not
not
the
all of my
collapse.
dreams.
Not the clap.
That's not all of them. If that was all of my dreams, then I would definitely be crazy. That's just some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
I have never noticed a marked. I'm making a word
market.
today. A market diff in my dreams like that. But I the more I think about it, I did have, I want to say, and I think Dustin mentioned this before, in an earlier podcast. I feel like I had more wild dreams when I was younger compared to today, because the dreams that I have now recently and like as an adult feel more logical and plausible than the ones I had as a kid.
What I'll say is that the biggest difference that I notice is when I was younger, I had to be in my dreams. I was dreaming from my perspective. Since, I don't know, about 10 years ago, I don't have to be in my dreams. I can just be a spectator. I can be like the eye in the sky. And I've never really thought about that until you just said that. And yeah, it's only been within the last 10 years, really.
Have you in the past 10 years felt distant from reality and now you're separating yourself from it in your dreams? Is that what's going on?
No, no, no.
Why are you answering like that?
Are you the crazy one, not me?
I mean, some of the things I've said may make me the crazy one. I don't know. Anyone who has to think good thoughts about someone because they're afraid they might be, listening in on my thoughts. Yeah, I think that immediately puts me in the category of crazy.
Well, don't get M started in her tendencies.
Oh God, I
Uh-oh.
have tendencies. I am a weirdo. I do sometimes occasionally imagine that other people are watching me, not maliciously, but just like looking in. And so I'll kind of be like, are they thinking? What are they thinking? They're just no. And it doesn't like happen a lot. I don't obsess over it, but it's like, what if sort of dealio. The same way you do of the what if people can hear my thoughts sort of bit.
Yeah, ever since probably ever since I saw the Truman Show, I've always wondered, like, what if my life is actually like the Truman Show, and everyone's just paid actors?
God, that'd be a terrible show.
Hey, I think I'm interesting.
You are interesting, Dustin.
Thank you.
Sometimes.
I have boring friends.
True, very true.
You were going to ask something about when I was saying I had the eye in the sky type dreams.
Oh, I was going to ask, has it been within the last 10 years that you have also been more into film?
No, actually. I was more into film back when I was working at Blockbuster, which would have been 2006 to 2013.
Huh.
And it was after that I started having those types of dreams.
I was just asking because, there's very eye in the sky type perspectives in film, lots of films.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, so in books as well.
And I would say that these dreams can sometimes be very cinematic, like transitions and everything. I mean, I told you about the dream that I had where it faded to black before it went into the next scene, which I was just like, okay, why? Why are we doing this? What's with the production value in my dream?
New director.
Yeah, it was like, what is Steven Spielberg fucking directing my dream?
Imagine you just have a
That would
tiny
be cool,
director in your brain.
Yeah. Now I want to be a director and just like put my dreams on film.
Wouldn't that be cool if you could directly translate your dreams into film?
That would be pretty awesome if you could visualize, like actually have a visual of your dream. Of
Right.
course, it would have to be just for you at first. That way you could review it and be like, okay, I'm okay with putting this out into the world.
I just kind of imagine like some big medical machine where they hook up like a helmet to your head and then they can view your dreams on a screen while you're dreaming.
Oh, so sci-fi.
I think for a show that was grounded in reality, sort of, House did something like that. I don't know if you know what House is, Emily, because I know you're young.
Yeah, no, I watched the first couple seasons of it as like a binge comfort show when I was super stressed last year. It
oh yeah,
was not a good time in my life when I watched like 5 hours of House at a time.
I used to love watching House, but there was an episode where they hooked up something so that you could get a visual representation of somebody's dream, and like it showed a guy playing baseball or something like that, and I was like, okay, well, this show just went off the rails.
Yeah, that does not sound in character for House.
Yeah,
But I only
That
watched maybe the first season or so when it first came out, so I don't know how crazy it got.
that's
it
such a
got pretty
normal
crazy.
thing too, of like playing baseball. That's what he's dreaming. Like, yeah, no, nobody, everybody's dreams are super weird and all over the place, and trying to explain them makes you sound like a crazy person. That's how dreams work.
Exactly.
Speaking of a dream that I had earlier this week, I texted Tasha as soon as I had it, and then I was like, I can't wait to tell you about this dream. I was in a city that was unfamiliar to me. It seemed like a cross between California and New York, you know, because there were like palm trees, but it was like super high rise and super like condensed. And I remember exiting this hotel, and I start walking through these streets, looking at all the buildings and all the architecture and everything, and then realizing that I was in my boxers, like I had not put pants on to leave the hotel. And
Oh no,
then,
not the underwear dream.
but here's the thing, I wasn't worried about it. I was like, you know what? It's all right. Whatever. And so I just start walking around this this city in my boxers. Like I jaywalked at one point, and then I saw these two people talking, and I thought they were talking about me for a second, but then I overheard them, and they were talking about some guy in a really oversized jacket. And I start looking around, and I see him. He's this like thin dude in a huge red jacket. It went down below his fucking knees, right? And I was like, damn, that is a big fucking jacket. Why are you wearing that? But
Are
you
you
know,
judging other people's clothing as you're
as I'm in
mostly
my boxers, yes, yes,
It sounds like something you'd do. It sounds like something you would do.
thanks.
Yeah,
So
you're welcome.
so then I start heading back to my hotel, and as I'm walking in, this lady who's, I mean, she's about average height. She's probably in her mid 50s, dark hair. She's wearing a leather jacket with a white shirt underneath it. And she stops me and she goes, "Hey, my daughter just told me that I should be listening to Natalie Imbruglia." I haven't heard that name since that song Torn came out back in the 90s.
I have no idea what that is.
Natalie
I don't know
Imbruglia,
either, but
okay. So she was a music artist back in the 90s.
Okay.
Look it up after the podcast, you'll understand.
Yeah,
So
I'll write it
anyway,
down.
she goes, she was like, "So do you have any recommendation of what song I should listen to?" And I was like, I don't. I have no idea. Let's go through our catalog and I can probably help you figure it out. And so we just start going through all these songs. And I remember distinctly telling her, you should listen to this song called Sleeping Buffalo. And then I was like, okay, well, that's it. And I went back into my room and then I woke up. Well, once that happened, I was like, okay, I have to look this up and see if that's an actual song or anything.
That's what I was going to ask
It's
you. Is
not.
that an actual song?
It's not. It's completely made up. I have no idea why my mind was like, yeah, that sounds like a perfect song for Natalie Imbruglia. So
Sleeping Buffalo.
anyway,
Now I feel like you have to write a song titled Sleeping Buffalo.
yeah, I'm gonna
or
have to.
write to them and tell them I had a dream that you had this song, and it'd be perfect.
I guarantee you that she would not care.
You don't
Or
know.
she would take it and run with it and become, the next big pop star.
I mean, she was pretty famous back in the 90s. So, I mean, she's got to be in her 50s by now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how old are some of our pop? How old is J-Lo?
Does it matter? I mean, when you look that good.
I'm pretty sure she's 50 something.
Yeah, you can still be a rock star in your 50s, you know?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, J-Lo's got a booty that won't quit, so it's fine. Natalie Imbruglia, I don't know. I haven't seen her since the 90s.
Now, remind me what it's called? The Great White Buffalo?
What?
What is it called?
Who? What?
The song. The song.
The song. Oh, it was just called Sleeping Buffalo.
Sleeping Buffalo. Got it.
But that's
Is
not a
that
real
the
song.
first song?
I know it's not a
First
real song.
song of the Womb Dreamers is Sleeping Buffalo. There you go.
Womb
Go.
Dream.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, when you leave here though, look up Natalie Imbruglia and look up the song Torn. And I
Okay.
guarantee you'll hear it and you'll be like, "Oh, I've heard this song."
Yeah, probably.
And then you'll be like,
Probably.
"Dustin is crazy."
Now, where the heck have I heard Great White Buffalo?
Mm,
Maybe a dream.
Maybe. I want to say
maybe
it was
this is all a
maybe.
dream.
Stop that. Stop it.
Maybe dreams are reality, and this is the dream.
Wouldn't that be something?
I hope
Sometimes
not.
I wonder.
Yeah.
Guys, I
But
dream of a blank empty void. I really hope that is not true.
Okay. Yeah, that would be kind of sad that if everything were a black empty void.
yeah, I do have another dream that I want to tell you about, but I'll do that on the next episode.
On the next episode, I've been thinking of starting our podcast saying, welcome to What Am Dreams, where everything is made up and the points don't matter.
That's pretty
No,
good.
because that's whose line.
I know. Good show.
Yeah, it is a good show.
Are y'all into improv? I wonder if that has any connection to dreaming.
Oh, I cannot improv to save my life.
I've
Okay.
never really tried, but I don't think I'd be good at it.
Yeah, I know I'm not good at it.
I am so bad. Like you were there when we were playing D&D, and there was that whole thing where like I kicked in the door to that one room, and Brandon was like, "And what do you say?" And I went, "Tasha, what do we say?" Like,
That's definitely one of our best moments playing D&D. It was
yeah,
hilarious.
That's as good as it gets for our D&D sessions. That's the peak of it.
Yeah, we made a huge deal of breaking into to see the leader of a city. What was it like then? I don't know what title to give him, but he was meeting behind some closed doors, and our characters wanted to talk to him, and we broke in. We made a point of breaking in and interrupting the meeting, and Brandon, our DM, Brandon asked Dustin, what does your character say? And we were
yeah.
it was
I had no plans beyond that. I didn't even think we'd get in the room. So
bad. I should have yelled, "Stop! Don't marry him! I object."
honestly, when you said stop, I thought you were gonna finish with "in the name of love."
Also could have been a good line. I don't remember what I actually said.
I don't either.
I completely forgot about this until you started talking about it, and then I was like, oh yeah, we had that whole bit in the thing. Yeah, that kind of went nowhere.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of our D&D. Kind of goes nowhere.
Poor Brandon plans all this out, pages and pages of stuff, and we just don't do it.
We just shit all over it.
Oh,
Yep.
Emily, before you joined, oh goodness, there were at least 6 different breadcrumbs that he wanted us to follow, and we just fucked off from all of them.
Yeah, we did. Why did we do that? We're
I
terrible.
don't know.
He gave us a big prophecy, and we've just kind of said fuck it to that. But it's like he puts these really grandiose ideas, but they're out of reach for us. Like trying to get, to the portal to the other realm, and we're going to that mountain, and it's just too difficult. He likes to kill us.
Yeah,
Eh,
I really miss that character. It's really your
I
fault,
still
Molly.
maintain. I still maintain he's a pretty good DM.
He
I don't
is.
He's a
think
great
he
DM.
truly tries to kill us.
He's a better DM than I am, and he's a damn sight better than some of our other DMs that we've had in the past.
Oh
Thanks. Yeah, I know.
yeah. No,
Well,
we're
you weren't
talking
there
about Rad.
for this, Emily.
No, we had this one
No,
DM Rad. It was terrible.
How so?
uh,
Several reasons. One that bothered the shit out of me is that he was biased and he definitely leaned more towards his wife's benefit.
Oh,
yeah.
ew.
Yeah.
Sorry, my cat's getting fussy. I don't know if you guys can hear her.
You're a kitty
I can.
cat. Tell the listeners what her name is.
Her full name, legally, is Maedros Nelia Finway Massimo Rusendal, which is Elvish for the tall, hot, ginger prince. But I just kind of gender bend it to princess. It's great.
Got it.
It's Elvish. Spoken.
I never related to.
Yep. And she is a very large, beautiful ginger cat.
I didn't think she was ginger.
She was more orange when she was younger, but now it's kind of a blonde color.
She is a big, beautiful fluff.
She's a baby.
Have y'all ever dreamt about your pets?
Yes. Oh my God, yes. Actually, after one of my dogs passed away, I've had several dreams where they come back.
Oh man.
Oh, I've
Um,
never once dreamed of pets, which is weird now that I think about it.
Now, when they come back, is it a pleasant experience?
Yeah, it is. So there was one, I had a dog that he actually just kind of disappeared. We had a real bad thunderstorm, and he had gotten out from the fence, and we went looking for him and couldn't find him. And he just, we assumed he died. We went, looked, all the shelters. There wasn't anybody, or he wasn't in any of the shelters or anything like that. But then a couple of years go by, and then like in my dream, I remember opening the front door and he just ran in. And then he acted like nothing had happened. And I was like, where have you been? And then that was it. Like I woke up and I was like, huh, I wonder if that was him trying to tell me like that he's okay,
I would believe yes. I've had similar dreams where, well, it's not of a pet. I don't remember any dreams about pets, but I remember I have dreams about my papa who has passed, and
Mhm.
it's kind of like he's checking in. That's how I always felt because in my dream, like he would just be hanging out with us like a normal day. Like in one dream, he went to the park with us. Another dream, we were hanging out with him and a lot of other family members who I didn't recognize in my dream, but you were family members. We were hanging out outside somewhere, and he was having a good time. I was having a good time. We were laughing and chatting. I don't remember what about, but I woke up feeling really good, like he had visited, you know? So
Yeah.
I had several dreams like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. We talk about the science behind dreaming and how most scientists believe that dreams are just our own minds trying to reconcile something, you know.
Mhm.
And I suppose that could be the case in those instances, but I don't know. I tend to feel like sometimes that there's something else.
I do too.
Something a little more spiritual going on beyond just the logical, rational. Oh, your brain is processing the day's events so that you can, better interpret and blah, 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 blah science words. And more of
Exactly.
there's something spiritual going on, something that is beyond our understanding, which, yeah, I can definitely see that. And yeah, I think there's got to be something to that. That if there is some sort of like spiritual world, if there is, an other world, whether it's magic or, God or whatever, that would be a part of dreams.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I agree. Yeah. Where else would it manifest the most? Except for in dreams. Yeah.
That actually reminds
Um,
me. So, go ahead, Emily.
I was gonna make a joke about God manifesting on a tortilla in Mexico,
Oh,
but that's a
okay.
terrible joke.
Yeah. Well, what I was gonna say was I've had this thing ever since I was young, where if I do manage to sleep at night, which is not often, I'll tend to always wake up from a nightmare at around 3:30. And I don't know if you guys are aware of the significance behind 3:30 in the morning.
The witching hour.
Um, exactly. They say that it's supposed to be like the time at which between worlds is the thinnest.
Yes.
And so it's strange to me that like that's when I would always wake up. I would have like these nightmares and then I'd wake up and look at the time and it would be 3:30.
Ooh. Yeah, there's something
Spooky.
behind that, I feel.
Yeah.
In my humble opinion. But who listens to me? Hopefully listeners on our podcast.
Did you say something? I wasn't listening.
Shut up, Dustin.
I actually mute the podcast whenever you're talking, Tasha. I'm sorry. I'm not though.
Whatever. You guys love me.
Love's a strong word. Don't cry.
For
No,
me,
you want to.
Argentina?
No. So, do we want to call it here?
Yeah, let's give
Yeah.
our recommendations for books and then all right, I'm gonna head out after that.
All right. Emily, do you have any book recommendations?
Yes. Do I ever? Okay. So if you like fantasy, Barbara Hambly is a phenomenal author, very similar to Tolkien fantasy and Neil Gaiman. So if you like those two authors, her Darwath series is my favorite. She's great with characterization. She's great with subverting tropes, but not in an annoying way, in a way that's very refreshing when you read a lot of fantasy. And they're very digestible. They're really, really good books. So I highly recommend the Darwath series by Barbara Hambly.
Nice.
Sweet. All right. And Tasha, what about you?
All right, here's my recommendation. It is another teen fiction novel, and aptly for this podcast episode because the perspective is death. So the book is called. It's an older book, but still I recommend it because it's one of my favorite young adult novels. The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak.
Oh, okay.
I loved reading it when I was in my young adult literature class, and it was the perspective for me. That's what got me. the perspective of death, and he narrates the story of a young girl set in Germany during the Holocaust. So, a great book.
And Dustin?
So I guess I'll recommend the Bobbyverse series from author Dennis E. Taylor. It's a sci-fi series. I believe it's only 3 or 4 books, and it's pretty easy to read, get through. I can't really say much about it because it's difficult to narrow it down to one specific genre other than sci-fi. That's it.
No, okay. All right, well, definitely check the books out. Y'all know our theories that an avid reader makes for vivid dreaming. So, yeah, check those books out, guys.
Yeah. Check
Read
those
more
books out.
Check those books out.
And then read Bunnicula.
Oh my gosh. Is that a bunny and Dracula? A Dracula bunny?
Yeah, I remember reading that when I was a kid. A rabbit that a vampire, but it was like draining all the orange out of carrots.
That's
Well, that's
adorable.
plain evil. Evil.
Evil.
Evil.
All right, guys.
Yay!
Oh.
That's it for What Am Dream. Tune in next time.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining.
Bye.
Yes,
Bye,
thanks
guys.
for being here.
Thank you for being you.
Okay. You had to get all sappy. Jeez.